All right, so limit breaks were officially announced today. Seems to be a highly lukewarm reaction, and from what I can tell. Um, but Oscar and I were talking, and I don't even think I said anything other than we have to make a video. Um, so
Right.
I definitely have some opinions on them, and I definitely want to hear your thought process and where you're at with them. Um, I guess just a quick introduction to limit breaks. I'm sure everybody's probably read this by now, but of course, they're extra deck cards. I myself have not played Magic, so I can't comment on the companion mechanic that Magic had. I don't know exactly how that works, so I can't really compare it to that. But there's also a mechanic in Vanguard apparently that's kind of similar to this from what I've been reading. Either way, it's going to be completely new for me. But 8 card extra deck, the basic cost still applies here. You have to pay the CP to cast the card from the extra deck. When it comes in from the extra deck, though, you're essentially going to have to pseudo remove cards from your extra deck to help pay for this. Now, the way that you remove them is literally flipping them face up. So it's very not I don't know. It's very odd how this works. I would imagine just remove them from play would be just as good. I don't understand unless there's going to be some kind of mechanic that says if you have 6 limit break cards face up in your limit break deck or something like that. I don't understand the whole flipping them over yet, but
This video is sponsored by Nerd Labs. At Nerd Labs, we carry all kinds of Final Fantasy TCG singles. If we don't have the card, it's probably because, I don't know, somebody's already bought it. We carry everything from promos all the way from Opus 1 to Opus 21. Every single day, prices are updated to be 10% cheaper than whatever is TCG player low. So get your singles while you can. Back to the video.
um, so essentially there's 2 costs that have to be paid: the CP cost and then the limit break cost. It's going to be denoted by limit break X. X is the amount of cards that you have to flip over. Um, so you can only summon or cast a face down card. You can't go back and grab cards that have went to the limit break deck face up. So you can only cast the cards that are hidden, so to speak, in the limit break, as if it was a private location like your deck or your hand. It's not public knowledge; it's private knowledge. So that's kind of like the basics of the overall mechanic. And with the mechanic, they revealed 3 cards, one of which I think speaks to what this mechanic is going to be used for, at least for a little while, in my opinion. Oscar, I don't know if you've had the chance to watch Ghoul's video yet, but he showed off some really interesting things that could happen with Zach.
Yeah.
My take is on Ace and why I think this mechanic is going to be used the way that it is. And then Victoria is just she's the oddball, I guess. I don't really have too much of an
Yeah.
opinion on her, but she's good. I mean, it's just interesting. So,
Y-
what's your opinion on the mechanic, Oscar, and how do you envision it being used if you look at these 3 cards, basically?
Um, I I think it's gonna be pretty cool. I do think it's gonna be possibly a game changer for sure. It'll make you always think more, I would say. It's gonna make the game a little bit more advanced. Uh, I remember going back to like Yu-Gi-Oh! I remember I was on Synchros, and then I remember when they announced XYZ, and I thought it was like the most overpowered thing at the time, and
Yeah,
Synchros was too when they come out when it came out.
yeah,
And I think this a lot of people are going to say these are overpowered, but it'll be eventually stabilized and standardized amongst everybody, and everybody will be playing it like it's nothing.
yeah.
Um, just like XYZ's was, and Synchros, and then Pendulums came out with a little bit, and then other stuff. I do think it's unique about the turning the cards over. And like you were saying, maybe a card says if you have 6 or so, maybe get certain effect. But there may be future ones coming out that when you play this card, maybe turn them back over. You can do
Yeah.
2 turn back over to give you more access to your limit break. Maybe it kind of like refreshes them or something.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they don't remove them from play, because there's going to be they're future proofing it. Maybe there's not existing right now, but for later sets, give you back the limit breaks. And maybe that's the whole reason why they go back to your limit break when they go to the break zone, instead of getting removed from the game as well.
Yeah. I do.
So,
I do think that Final Fantasy, in its nature of a game, how it functions, and the way that they've introduced mechanics up until this point, I think Limit Break is falling right in line with how they do that. So you look at Opus 15 when crystals were introduced, right? You had the 2 CP backups that introduced the crystal generation, which is kind of what set the precedence for how much a crystal is worth, like the economy of the mechanic, right? For a long time, crystals were kind of on par with 2 CP. Like, if you're paying 4 crystals to break something, it was commonly looked at as like, oh, well, are there any things that cost 8 CP or less to do the same action? And it took up until literally Opus 21 to get another backup that generated crystals. And lo and behold, it's 3 CP, and even best case scenario, if you don't have the backup to pay the odd cost, you ditch 2, which means the crystal is still, in a sense, costing you 2 because you're going to draw a card. It's going to refund you 1 card off of those particular Opus 21 backups. You look at the concept of warp, right? So warp is introduced, and it's, I think it was first introduced in Opus 18, and it's very slow. And I don't mean slow because it is slow, don't get me wrong, but slow in a sense of it's got like turns to pay off for what you're using it for. Looking at Opus 19 Garnet or Theodore. Theodore himself is kind of like, he was the poster child for Warp whenever it released, and 9 CP obviously is insane, but you just pay the 2 to warp him and you get these extra bonus effects. Cost of that is obviously a CP reduction, but a time investment, right? You have to invest a couple of turns. And
yeah,
obviously warp feels bad right now, but that's only because of how fast paced the game has gotten in the last couple of sets. Do you have time to sit on Theodore for 2 turns? Are you going to survive for 2 turns? That's kind of the gamble that you have with warp at this point. But going back to how they've introduced those mechanics, they're all slow rolling mechanics, right? So I feel like this is gonna be the exact same thing. So they're gonna introduce these cards, they're gonna slowly roll into it. They're not gonna be broken off the bat. At least from these 3 cards, that's what I'm getting. Obviously we have a rare, a hero, and a legend here, so we're getting kind of like the pick of the litter, seeing kind of what they wanted to reveal. And being a legend, Ace obviously has some very powerful effects, but being a hero, Victoria has some really good effects. And then Zaka, in my opinion, is super underwhelming. It's funny that even in the article they called it out that it was mid. Leon and I kind of had a chuckle at that at work today. So
yeah,
I think that the cards being introduced here are very slow rolly. They are trying to introduce the mechanic more than break the game. Now, how do you foresee, in terms of these 3 cards, how do you foresee the mechanic being used? How would you utilize the limit break mechanic if this is the type of effects that you're going to get off of them?
to me, the only one that I seem to find interesting is the Ace, which I've never been a mono wind player. I just don't like it. That's a lot to keep up with for one. And if you're playing against somebody that really watches your plays, they're gonna be critiquing it. But I think this is a way to possibly get away around of doing the Luso triggers to get the board wipe. It might entice people to play mono wins more for that reason, because it does take to navigate and to play mono win. You've got to be pretty smart. You've got to know the combos. You got to know the loops, and make sure you think about it before you start, because you get halfway through it and then you realize, oh shit, it's not going to happen this turn,
Yeah.
and you've done wasted half your hand when you could have done it the next turn.
Yep.
I think Ace is going to save you on that, hopefully.
Yeah.
To be able to board wipe.
Yeah.
As
Go ahead.
as far as that goes, and Victoria, I don't. I wish they would put in dragoons in different colors besides lightning,
Yeah.
or maybe at least make it wind.
So there was a very interesting comment about how much more powerful Tyro and Shantoto become with Limit Break, because since they're
Yeah.
extra deck cards, they are obviously not going to have to clog your hand up when it comes to casting them. So something like Shantoto or Tyro, or 1 CP Leo, 3 CP Riku that makes Earth backups produce whatever. Those cards become way more valuable in the sense that now you're able to run off-color cards and never have to worry about them clogging your hand. Because now you can tap those and help pay for a limit break card that's completely off color.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to be wondering as well. I was kind of reading over the post, and they said there was plenty more to be shown, which I hope they at least have enough to run. Basically, well, I know you only get what's it, 8
Yeah.
to your limit break.
Mm-hmm.
I really want there to be a good option, not just the fire, the wind, the ice. I want there to be some more winds that are actually usable, more or less.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing a mono wind deck and you're not able to produce the other CP, then you want it to at least, maybe if you can't use Ace, you can use one of the other ones at a lower cost.
Right.
So I hope they give you options within this set, even if it's not nothing like drastic. It for wind's sake, it could be the difference in casting one extra card that turn.
Yeah.
So I really do. Even though if you're not going to get an amazing effect off of it, it's just a forward that comes out that counts towards your cast count, and it's not getting rid of a card in your hand all that much. It's like takes 2 CP off basically.
So,
but yeah,
I think one thing that's interesting, and I kind of, I watched Cool's video right before this, so some of his comments are still on the brain. But from now on, let's just say the scenario you go down to 0 in hand, right? Or let's say you're playing mono ice and you end up with 0 in hand. From now on, every time you draw for turn, you're not only just basically grasping for a 2 CP forward or a 2 CP summon to kind of help stabilize you. You're now able to stabilize with a 4 CP limit break. Right? It opens up so much of the possibilities that you can do just simply based on now you have these cards that are always going to be available. To me, like, the reason that I think Ace is the kind of poster child at the moment is simply because the way that I am going to look at this limit break is they are going to be cards that I probably would want to sideboard against the bad matchups that I have. So, classically, for Mono Wind, which, again, Oscar said he doesn't play it that much. I also tried to play Mono Wind for a while, and it is fun, but definitely not my stronghold. Mono Wind obviously doesn't have a solid board wipe, like, at all. Fat Chocobo from Opus 20, I think. Um, very mediocre board wipe in a sense. I mean, it's there, but Jesus, it's expensive. And to reduce the cost enough to be effective, you already are so far ahead that I'm not so sure a board wipe is even necessary at that point. It truly feels like a win more kind of card because of how much it's going to cost you. Um, they recently had Genova Dreamweaver, and we've had a couple of different things that like help ping, like Ghost, I think it was, the monster. So you get like these little pings in Mono Wind, but you don't really have like a full blown side or a board wipe. And in a game where, like, I mean, just Golbez, for instance, right? Like Golbez is going to just drop all these forwards. Warrior Light's going to drop a ton of forwards. Obviously, Ace isn't going to get through like Yuzuki or nothing, but in a matchup where they go wide, like 13 or anything like that, now Mono Wind at all times is going to have access to a board wipe. Now, obviously, the
Yeah.
board wipe with Ace in particular is dependent on how many characters they have on the field. So, maybe they have five backups and Evre, Adamos, and Rosa, who are always just going to sit there. They're never going to actually do anything with them. Five backups plus those three characters, that's 8K to the board. And guess what? When Ace enters, he's a win character, so that's 9K to the board. It's not something that is probably going to be useful in every matchup, but now Mono Wind has that board wipe in their ace or in their pocket. Um, Not intending to make a pun there, but I think that to me is what Limit Break is going to be best utilized at first for. It's something that helps round out your matchups. I'm playing Cloud Pod, and obviously Ice Lightning kind of destroys that because they just tap down Cloud himself. Well,
Yeah.
what's the answer to that? What's something that I can now play against Mono Ice that does better for me in Cloud Pod? I think that's the sweet sauce to Limit Breaks at this point. Is it's more of a sideboard than anything, and obviously you have eight. Um, you have eight cards in the deck. You cast Ace. That's one card removed from the Limit Break deck. Plus, you have to reveal three. So that's four cards. That's literally half of your Limit Break deck, which means you can cast Ace twice a game at best.
Yeah.
So I think that's my personal use for it. But Ghoul definitely had some interesting things going on with the Zach. I don't know. Did you actually watch his video?
I was listening to a little bit of it. Yeah. I didn't finish it though, but yeah, I was picking up some things.
Yeah, so he was basically talking about like how the Zach is now a combo piece into Cloud Pod, and you're potentially looking at a one card combo with Cloud Pod because all you need is to get Cloud on the field, and then
And start it with that.
yeah, and then next turn when Cloud activates and is actually able to use the action ability, you just pay three and cast Zach from the Limit Break deck and go to town, right? And every time Zach goes to the break zone, he still ends up allowing Cloud to trigger and do its thing. So it's very interesting. And since
Yeah.
since Zach only reveals one from the limit break, you're able to do that all three copies of Zach that you carry in the limit break deck. So you're open to do. He did Cloud, and then next turn he activated Cloud, played Zach. He potted Zach into 4 CP Rosa from the starter deck. He sent Zach to the break. Obviously, he goes back face up on top of the limit break deck. He casts another Zach, and then he uses Rosa to activate Cloud. Cloud pods the Zach into Warrior Light. And at that point, that's turn two, right? You've got a Cloud, that is the combo piece, a Rosa, and 4 CP Wool. I mean,
And that's a 10K ping
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
every turn. So
Yeah.
that's that's a very interesting concept to utilize these cards. And I think the biggest deal is like a lot of people used to complain or still do complain kind of regularly that, Man in Black is supposedly busted in some way. And the thing that they hate is that when Men in Black, we're talking Opus 17 Men in Black, when it attacks, it removes the card from your break zone. It's now kind of a phantom card in your hand. It's in your hand, but it's not in your hand. You can cast it at any time, but I don't have to worry about it like clogging it up. You can't touch it. You can't make me discard it. You can't interact with it until I use it, right? And that's kind of the same
Yeah.
concept as all these limit break cards. I think they are untouchable in a sense.
Yeah, I think so too. And I will say, like, with this, I was thinking about it, so if you see mono win, I know a lot of people are going to hate this stuff off the get go. If you see mono win, you're going to go ahead and expect to see ace. So you're just going to have to play around it, or just don't build your board, or don't let them establish a board.
Right.
I mean, this is all stuff that you're going to, after the first round, the first meta, to figure out what people are going to start playing. Yeah, I know at the beginning it's going to be rough because you're not going to know exactly how people figure out how to play these cards. But once you start seeing it, you're going to know what to expect for future games and tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling you'll see some pretty interesting builds off of this that people haven't shared when they start coming out, and then you'll see them top. But then, just like anything else, you'll be expecting it the next turn, next go around.
Yeah. I think they're definitely going to shake the game up, for better or for worse. Sure. I think that's going to be held to the test of time. I don't know if we had a crystal ball, it'd be nice, but I mean, at this point, I think it seems like Hobby Japan has always slow rolled everything so far. Like we were talking about earlier, the crystals, the warp mechanic, all that stuff has been slow rolled to the point where they're new mechanics, but they're also mechanics that people are kind of like, I don't know that I want to, Like, is it worth playing a crystal deck? Like, what good crystal payoffs are there, right? Glaciella from Opus 17. You have Lady Lilith. That's kind of it, right?
That's about the biggest major ones.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's all these like small little synergies. Like,
yeah, there's other ones.
Like,
but nothing major.
Yeah, Lena, Soul, those things. But they're like one card, like hit or miss things. Like, you play them because it's nice, but it's And like we talked about with Warp, it's very hit or miss with those two. I mean, Estinian is like kind of the end all be all like Warp character right now. He's the one that everybody wants to warp. But I don't ever want to warp Opus 19 Garnet. Why wouldn't I just pay the extra 1 CP and get the summon back right now? Like, do I really need to add 2 summons back in like 2 turns? No. Like, it just, I think and I actually hope that Limit Break follows the same pattern, where the cards have good usability, but they aren't a turn 1 play. Because you think about Rugagine, right? Rugagine, you draw him first turn, guess what? You're going to play him. Because there's no reason not to. Unless you just, for whatever reason, your opponent drops their hand and you see like 2 CP Fenrir or, something that's just going to completely stonewall you. But Rugagine's just that card that's like a turn 1, I got to play it. I hope that it takes a while to get to that turn 1 limit break, because all of these cards that you see on the screen can be played turn 1. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to, but they can all be played turn 1.
Yeah.
So
I do think it's gonna be pretty cool. And then there's always those games where you'll have three backups, four backups, and then you draw into two more backups after your whole board's wiped and you're at 6 damage. So now you'll have a forward to play at least.
yeah, that's the thing is these will be available anytime. It'll be
Yeah.
and what's interesting is obviously all three of the ones they revealed today are only forwards, but imagine there's a limit break backup, a limit break monster. You know
Oh yes. Hopefully
that
there's
could
limit
be.
break monster support.
I could see that. I mean, um,
A realm or a gal.
yeah, that when they enter, it just plays a monster to the field. Something really really simple but really cost effective, and to have in the
Hmm.
hole like all the time um, would be really cool. A two CP Mira that when she enters, she plays a monster from the break zone to the hand equal to the number of face up limit break cards you have, and
Dude,
she herself reveals two, so it literally gets you
yeah,
a two CP monster.
that would be nice. Even just a realm for my deck in general. If I first turn have magic pot, and then I can play if
Realm
it's a
from the
two
break,
CP realm,
yeah,
yeah,
or
plays
from the
on, and then
limit
just
break, yeah.
send it to go into the big realm. That would be amazing.
Yeah,
So hopefully they do print some stuff off like that.
I I think Magic Pot implications here are very interesting too, because at
Oh,
this
Zach
point,
into other Zach.
yeah, that literally just jump starts a deck, right? You
Hmm.
play Magic Pot, pass, and then turn two you play Zach. Zach enters, deals a forward 3K. You Magic Pot it into Big Zach, and Big Zach is gonna do whatever.
Yeah,
I think that's very very interesting.
yeah, I think it would be really cool. See what you can do off of that. And that being said, I think just like I was talking to you earlier about Sid FFBE.
Hmm.
I think he'll become a good card, which I thought he was going to anyways, but nobody's really playing Wind right now. But now
Right.
somebody might play Wind now that they have Ace, and they can play the Sid FFBE to counter the Wool, counter anything else
Yeah.
that's out there, and counter Limit Break.
Yeah.
I think he might become a strong card.
Definitely.
I do hope I can't wait to see more of them to see what kind of effects they're going to have off the get go.
Yeah. I I can't remember the exact number. I want to say it was somewhere around 14 limit break cards were going to be in this set.
Cool.
I want to say that was the number. Which, if you look at the serial numbers to the cards, these are all considered last in the set or close to
Yes.
last in the set, um, which means they're not going to take up slots of the normal set numbers, right? So obviously, fire comes first in the serial number situation, but what they typically do, and what I think we're going to see, is 22 is going to introduce limit break. Um, Opus 19 was the last, I think, was the last set that had multi element cards in it. Because 20 didn't. I don't think so. And did 21? I don't remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Don't look at my Riku Loops deck. Cards. So yeah, so see 21 goes from light, dark, and then it immediately goes into starter cards. So I think starter cards happened in 21, limit breaks will happen in 22, and then I don't think 20 had multi element. 19 was the last one that did, I think. Yeah, so see, it went straight from lights to darks, and then that's it. It finished off. So I think we'll start seeing like a pattern of possibly 20 was the crystal mechanic, right? And then you might see 21 had a starter deck, and then 22 is going to have limit breaks. 23 may have the multi elements back again. They always seem to rotate how they introduce these cards. And I guess technically, I mean, we didn't even talk about how multi elements were technically a mechanic that got released, but um,
Yeah.
feels like they kind of some of those felt slow rolly in the earlier sets. They were kind of here, get this small effect that would be this element, but you can also choose this effect, which would be this element.
Which I think that's a really cool idea in general because it just opens up decks to playing
Yeah,
them together and stuff.
yeah,
And then
for
also
sure.
like talking about limit breaks. I don't know. I was reading that article and I don't think it said anything about there not being light and dark limit breaks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as we know, they could be anything. They could be multi-element, which would be an interesting layer on top of a layer where you have to play, or you have to pay two different elements to get a limit break card, and then that's just kind of adding things together. Or
Yeah,
if they're light or
but
dark,
just
obviously.
that just having a light and dark, you can take it with any deck. You
Yeah,
know, so you wouldn't have to have the Tyro.
yeah,
So or the Shantoto, that would be pretty cool. And even if you don't run, you don't need any limit break cards. You're still going to have them there just in case. You
yeah,
never know.
yeah.
And that would be cool to have some light and dark ones.
I was gonna see if he already had the Opus 22 stuff in here. Um, yeah, I think that overall, limit breaks are gonna make the game play different, no matter which way you slice it. Um,
Hmm.
I do think it's going to increase the complexity of deck building, but I think you could keep it as simple as don't play a limit break deck. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
in a competitive sense, there's no reason not to, even if it's just free forwards to block. I mean, why wouldn't you play this Zac if you're in fire, so that you can at least have a blocker when you're stuck at 6 damage? Um,
Yeah.
little things like that. Obviously, that stuff makes sense, but I think overall the mechanic's going to be positive in the long run. A lot of people were very lukewarm to the idea. A lot of people didn't like it. I think it's because possibly there's flashbacks of uh, the companion or the vanguard mechanic or whatever it is, but I still think Final Fantasy has kept the mechanics at bay, and they do a really good job of not letting things get too out of hand. I mean, obviously, I wasn't playing during the Stern Leonis Marchery meta, so I can't really say that those were good decisions at the time. And Rug is arguably a bad decision depending on who you talk to, but um,
Mhm.
I do feel like in general they keep things pretty tame. They know when to push the limits and when to not lately.
Yeah. And then also, some people might use this to their advantage. I mean, I'm not saying that they will, but just say you're not going to run limit break. You're not going to do it. But you stack all wind in there and you have ace and you go to sit down across from somebody and, day one, Swiss, you're not going to know what anybody's playing. So they sit down and they accidentally turn over their ace. You're going to
Mm.
be thinking you're playing wind.
Yeah,
It's a way to deceive somebody in theory. And then you're going to be thinking, oh, that changes what I'm going to do first turn. Then you play that, and then you're realizing you don't even see a damn win card in their deck.
yeah. I think there's some interesting implications on if that even is ethical in a way. I mean,
Yeah. I
obviously,
mean, I don't think so.
obviously, yeah, obviously, there's some gray areas. I can understand people's reservations on stuff, people that do stuff like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a mechanic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing that says you can't run three ace in. a mono Earth build or 3 Ace in a mono Lightning build. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Imagine you're running mono fire, and you reveal Zach, or you cast Zach, and then the one reveal that you do, you reveal the Ace. Oh, now they're thinking, oh, I'm playing Fire Wind. Okay, there is that
Yeah.
implication of mind gaming the opponent, which is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what they would do about something like that because that's supposed to. I guess it wouldn't be public knowledge. It's supposed to be for you, but you're showing it before the game, kind of as
Yeah.
a tactic. I don't know what they would do to somebody like that.
I
Is
mean,
it
what's
cheating?
the
I don't know.
personally? No. I mean, what's the difference of me like walking up and shuffling my deck, and the way that I shuffle, I may end up flashing a card or two at them, and they're gonna see it. I mean,
And to be honest with you, when I go sit down across from somebody in the tournament setting, I am looking at when they shuffle their deck. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going out of my way to see what they have, but if they drop a card, I'm gonna look at it.
You mean you don't reach across the table and be like, "Hey, bro, let me see that."
Yeah.
Uh,
Because any information is some, and that will tell you how to open up your hand. And I
yeah,
think people could use this kind of deceivingly for
yeah.
that purpose.
I agree with that. Which brings an interesting layer to the game. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to do.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
obviously, Ace is a Class 0 cadet, so he's got a shoe in for some people around here.
Yeah, and like I said, they need to start printing aces with S abilities that are good. And the next set, they didn't do that. So, and it has nothing to do with Class Zero cadets really, because the current Class Zero cadet decks are not running wind anymore. Most likely,
Yeah.
it's going to be fire lightning, and they just keep printing ace and ruining them. I think.
He does need more S ability because there is a lot
Yeah.
of Ace fodder.
Yes. They need to print one with a good. Because even like the new lightning ace is really good to draw a card. But if you have another ace that you play before that has an S fodder, you're gonna ditch them if it's whatever the effect may be.
Yeah. I mean, I really do like the discard one card.
Yeah.
It's a pseudo outlet to, oh shit, I drew 6 aces.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of do that, which it's nice to ditch your whole hand, I guess, and dull the board so that you can push your
Which I
game.
did do that the other night. I did
See,
4.
that's
Yeah.
that's the tactic, man. Ace's special
Yeah.
ability, but you can discard any card to activate this special ability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, any final thoughts on Limit Break, the outlook, anything like that?
I think the cards look pretty cool. I think they kind of made it too similar to the boss cards.
I agree with that.
I would say.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see what a full art of one of these looks like if they will do that.
That would also
I
be
don't
very
know.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what it would exactly look like if they would keep maybe the whole card would be bordered in that. I have no clue. Um, yeah, see, trying to look for a boss card. I don't know if
Yeah,
they
I was
have any.
gonna say I don't know if they even have them anywhere. Like even if any of these sites allow you to search for them.
Yeah, I don't know. But it does really remind me of the boss cards because we've played the boss deck and it's nearly damn impossible to beat. Got
Yeah,
to have like 4 players. It's
yeah.
really should be a 4v1, maybe a 5v1.
Or you just get good.
Yeah, maybe everybody run Rugged.
Hey, Rugged
Maybe
would
that's
solve a lot of the boss deck stuff. It really would.
yeah. We haven't played it since then, so
And the
we
boss
might
decks
need
are only going to
to.
get power crept, actually.
Yeah, but it does look a lot like a boss card. But I will like would like to see one of these full arts to see what kind of design they leave on it.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
really be interested if they kind of did something similar to Vaughn, uh, where they gave him like
oh yeah,
the border.
yeah,
That
that would look
that would be
sweet in
sick.
gold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know why
that
they
would be
gave him
pretty
this
sick.
special treatment, but dude, does it look good?
That that is a beautiful card.
Yeah,
Even the playmat that they have for that is pretty.
yeah. I really do hope they do something nice like that. And if they made like the gold part of it, just even if they made it pop like on the foils, like I think that would be cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm excited to see that part. See if that makes the cards prettier in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I guess that's all my thoughts on it for
Oh,
now.
yeah,
Uh, let's
I definitely
see
think
what
that.
else.
Go ahead.
I was gonna just we had to see what else they release.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
to-
If there are 14 cards in the set, I think there's a lot of room to expand upon the mechanic, and I have a feeling every Thursday for the next few weeks we're going to get some limit break cards. Um,
mhm.
uh, when does this set actually release? It's March something. Oh, March 22nd. It would help if I just pulled that up. So we're looking at, oh, there's plenty of time. So typically, like every Thursday, right, you're going to have like a card revealed. So if they were to release two, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So they could release 12 more in a sense if they wanted to. We've already seen 3. So that would essentially cover the rest of them if they were to do only limit breaks for the rest of the card of the week. Which I don't know necessarily that they
Yeah,
will do that. Obviously, there's not going to be, not every single card in the set is going to be a limit break. So there's going to be other cards that are important to the set and thematically um, in line with the rest of the set. So maybe they'll reveal that stuff. But I definitely think
yeah.
we'll see the rest
I,
of them very soon.
I'm also curious to see the price of these. How the price will be on these. Like if they're
Yeah,
going to be in the first set, if they're going to be really sought after, maybe collectible or just playable. Like how much are these going to affect the meta, and how much will these cost?
yeah. I think I saw somebody. I think it was in the Facebook group where they were talking about how these were going to be super expensive. Personally, I don't see that only because to be
The way they do the
expensive,
cases.
you kind of have to hit both sides of the market, right? You have to hit those like highly like thought collectors, the ones that want to pay good money for extremely rare cards. And then you also have to be hitting in the competitive scene where it's so good that like you're kind of not ready for the tournament unless you have this card. If this is the deck that you're playing, right? Um, there's still 3 ofs in every deck, but there's only 8 possible limit break cards that you could play. So I don't
Yeah,
foresee, unless it's broken, I don't foresee people wanting these cards more than any other card. I think Zach will be priced just like a regular rare. I think Victoria would be priced just like a regular hero, and Ace will be priced as a slightly underwhelming legend.
yeah, probably $4.
Yeah,
Start at the 25-30 mark, and then it'll eventually
it'll plummet.
plateau at like $5. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be a $5 card.
yeah,
$4.
yeah. Um, that's just my outlook on the market. I don't foresee these being highly collect. Now, obviously, we talked about full arts. If they do full arts of these, I think, and especially if they do some type of special foiling for the limit break, emblem or the gold lettering or any of that, I think that could make them a little bit more sought after because they'll be unique in that sense. Um,
Hmm.
But even then, I don't see it being. At that point, you're just capturing the collector, unless it's a busted
Yeah.
card and it's really good for competitive play as well.
It would have been cool for this being the first set release. Like if they would have did the signature card in one of these, I think that would be pretty cool. Then it would be
Yeah,
really sought after.
yeah. Which signature was Sephiroth for this one? So
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
yeah, sure, for sure.
But yeah, so I think I've exhausted my thoughts on Limit Break for what we know at the moment. Um,
Yes.
so I'm highly interested in what everyone who watches thinks. I'd like to know if you're overwhelmed, underwhelmed, overstatic, understatic. If you're being shocked currently, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see because I've seen Facebook post after Facebook post after Reddit post after Discord chat just talking about how it's great, it sucks, I'm excited, this is dumb, I'm leaving.
Just
I've
mixed
yeah
emotions.
I've seen people say that this is gonna absolutely break the game, which maybe you get a limit break that searches for a card, right? That's supremely powerful to always have that turn one, right? That's good. I understand that.
Yeah.
Or you get some like limit break that has back attack. That's
Yeah.
important. That's very, very big. But again, I feel like
Yeah.
we're going to slow roll this. We're going to slowly start to see these cards get better and better, and they may rein in the power creep for 5 or 6 sets. We may not see a broken limit break card until early 2026. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, and I don't see seeing them let a card stick around if it is broken. Like if it's overly used and if that's the only deck that's playable at the time, I think they'll definitely shut that down and ban it. But I mean, I know that would suck, but I believe they would do that before they just let one deck sit at the top forever.
Yeah. So, just as an interesting topic, we never have seen, up until this point at least, Riku is a hero, Guido is a hero, Dataluma is a hero, Gesper's a common, Thaumaturge is a common, Mjorn is a rare, right? Yeah, she's a rare. Althea's a hero, Sildra's a hero, Doga's a hero, right? Yeah. Marshri and Stern Leonis are both heroes. So, all of these banned cards, none of them, absolutely none of them, are legends. You get down to the legends that are actually affected by the ban list, and you have Sophie. She's just restricted, though. I've heard conspiracies about how Hobby Japan doesn't like to ban legendaries because legendaries are always supposed to be powerful and they're supposed to do legendary things. And maybe they look at these heroics and commons as, oops, we accidentally printed, something broken that we couldn't tell, or it was a part of some loop that we couldn't, stop without banning these cards. Or they're just, hey, these heroics were a little too strong for what they were. Maybe this Althea should have costed 4. Sildra should have costed 5 or 6.
And like Rugajid maybe should have been 6.
Right.
That way, first turn, ditch your whole hand. Then next turn, you can give something haste.
Right. So it stands to think, at least, that at some point, if they do release a broken limit break, I hope it's just not a legend. And if it is, it possibly could just be restricted rather than completely banned. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to make a Sophie deck at some point. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's it. The dogs are
Yep.
freaking out, so it's probably time to go. But yeah, like we said, if you have some thoughts on Limit Break, if you think it's going to make or break the game, let us know down in the comments below. And if you like this type of video where we just sit and chat about the game, the state of the meta or anything like that, we've talked about doing some longer form content like this before, so it'd be nice to get some feedback if this is your cup of tea, if you'd watch or listen to something like this. I myself listen to podcasts basically every morning on the way to work, so I'm all for
Of
it.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've thought about doing maybe a podcast where we pick a card and try and figure out a deck to make it work. So
Yeah,
I think that'd be pretty neat.
or we just build a deck on some sort of long form topic. So, like on the way home from, Raleigh's Winter Cup, we talked about the Gomez deck, and we basically built the deck on the way home. We could easily
Yeah.
put that into a video and start talking about options and kind of how to formulate a 50 card pile and see what it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely let us
That'd
know
be
down in
cool.
the comments below, and hope to see you in the next one.
See ya.